Okay, in this video, I wanted to address some entity choice issues. So in this video, we're going to cover, do you need to set up a LLC, so that's a limited liability company, or a Pllc, which stands for professional limited liability company. So the reason why this is an important discussion is because under state law, depending on what kind of business you're running, you might not be allowed to form certain entities. Okay, you always need to check with your state regulator, your state statute. So we're going to start at the top here. I've got one slide in front of us and an example, and we'll go over why entity selection is so important. So again, just to reiterate, before you ever form a legal entity for your business, make sure you're forming the correct one. You need to consider things like what line of business are you going to be in, what are the tax considerations, and who's going to own it, right? Do you have U.S. persons, non-U.S. persons? Do you have entities in there? Do you have a trust that's going to be an owner? All of these things drive what kind of entity you might want to form. And also, each state has their own rules and regulations around what kind of business you can form, right? So you need to very carefully review your state statutes and regulations to determine which entity is appropriate for your business. So the state of Florida is what we're going to focus on here as an example. In the state of Florida, amongst other states, they draw a distinction between what is a PLLC or a professional limited liability company and just your standard LLC. The LLC is certainly the most popular entity type in the state, and it can be used for most businesses. However, in certain cases, so certain businesses, certain industries, certain professions, you cannot use an LLC. If you're using a standard LLC, you are in violation of state statute. So under Florida law, a professional services company, these include companies that are being operated by doctors, lawyers, CPAs, dentists, engineers is another one. These are the types of businesses where the people that are doing the work need special licenses from the state. And so for that reason, they're not allowed to operate under just a standard LLC structure. These businesses have to be organized as either general partnerships, limited partnerships, LLPs, limited liability partnerships. They can be organized as a professional association, or a PC is also permitted, or lastly but not least, a professional limited liability company, right? So very, very important here. Notice how the standard LLC is nowhere in this list. That is not allowed. So here's where it goes all wrong. I see a lot of people set up companies using one of those online entity formation services. So they're just document processors. They're not lawyers. They're not accountants. They don't provide any tax advice, legal advice, nothing. They're just filing the forms for you. These types of companies, they don't consider anything about your business when they file the paperwork, none. And so what you'll find yourself in this predicament where you'll use a company thinking it's the appropriate entity type, and then afterwards you find out, wait a minute, I just formed an entity that I'm completely not allowed to operate under state law given the type of my business. So in this example, we have Adam and Brian are licensed attorneys in Florida, and they're going to open their own law firm, right? So they're each going to own 50% of the firm. And after owning 50% of the firm, so they decide that they're going to hire just one of these processing companies to file the documents with the state of Florida, right? They don't want to do it themselves. And so based on the online questionnaire, this online company decides, well, we're just going to set up an LLC for you. They provide them just a template LLC operating agreement, right? It's all boilerplate terms, nothing specific. And this company knows that they're going to want to run a law firm, yet because they don't know any better, they're just going to still file documents to form an LLC and not a PLLC. So what's the obvious problem here? Well, under state law, a law firm, Adam and Brian are attorneys, they're going to be operating a law firm. A law firm cannot be run as an LLC under Florida law. So Adam and Brian are in direct violation of the state statutes. This creates problems not only for their business, but them professionally for their own Florida bar licenses. So obviously you would want to head off this problem to begin with, but now that the damage is done, they either need to, they need to cease conducting business immediately, dissolve the entity and form a new one, or file the appropriate documentation to convert the LLC to a professional limited liability company as soon as possible. So this is why, and this applies to all states, right? Each state has their own unique rules. And again, just to reiterate, figure out what type of business you're going to be opening. Look at your state statute, see if you can operate under that type of structure, and if not, find the appropriate one. Make sure you're doing this right from the beginning, because you don't want to find yourself in the same mess that Adam and Brian are dealing with right now. So that covers it for the Pllc versus LLC structure debate. I hope you found that helpful. If you have any questions, please leave me a comment below. Happy to answer any I can. And I look forward to seeing you again in the next video. Thank you.